Hello, and welcome back to my channel. So today I want to talk about scams. I feel like there was a lot of scams in 2024, but specifically I want to talk about scam events, as in the whole entire event itself, scam. As in people showed up, people gave their time, gave their money, and the event was a bust. So today we're gonna break down a few, talk about what the scam was, who was involved, what happened to them, and then one where wholeheartedly to me it's a scam, but I want to hear what y'all think. So let's go ahead and get into the scam events. Okay, this one made a lot of noise. So February 2024, we have the Willy Wonka Chocolate Experience taking place in Glasgow, Scotland. And I'm going to assume that this was meant to sort of ride the wave of the Timothée Chalamet Willy Wonka musical. And the event was actually partially billed as a once-in-a-lifetime musical experience. I haven't seen the Chalamet Wonka, so I don't know what songs are in the new Willy Wonka. I think it's just called Wonka. As someone who's seen the other two, and there's the Oompa Loompa song, the Wonderful World Come With Me, and you'll see a Wonderful World of Imagination song, and then the Scary Tunnel song in the original Gene Wilder version. So I don't know if they just had a playlist or a soundtrack on deck or what was intended to go on. It didn't, spoiler alert, but the event was hosted by a company called House of Illuminati, and I'm assuming this was their first major event because the company had only been incorporated 3 months prior to this Wonka experience. And as you can see, the branding is very much Candyland. It looks fun, it looks fantastical, it looks like a wonderland for a child. The images to me look a little bit AI generated. Some of the articles talking about them accuse them of also using AI for these images. In my opinion, it definitely looks like it. And the cost for this event is £35, which would be about 44 US dollars. And the Wonka experience was intended to be a weekend event, not necessarily a 2-day thing, but you can come Saturday, you can come Sunday, one of those things. But because it wasn't as advertised, it was going so poorly, it got shut down midday Saturday. And apparently the police were even called, not to make any arrests, but just to, I believe, prevent people from coming and to sort of sort out all of the issues, the grievances, the people saying, I paid $44 for this. And this in question wasn't much and was obviously a mess. And for the employees, for the actual actors, they were looking for people who had at least some sort of acting experience. So they were posting job boards on Indeed and things like that. And if you were hired, you would make £500 for the whole weekend. So not necessarily a bad break. But I say all of that to say the actors, they were called in to rehearse, do all of that stuff. And the actors mainly believe the venue wasn't finished with the setup because it looked so sparse and unfinished and unwelcoming. But the gag is they were probably already done at that point. And they're like, this is what we got. This is what we're rolling with. Because looking at the decor, it is not awful. I feel like this could be well suited to a backyard birthday party, but for a whole entire event, venue space, you're charging people to come, yeah, step it up. And also apparently the actors were a little iffy because they were given scripts to, have lines to talk to the kids the next day. And they were AI generated gibberish. This guy's meant to play Wonka. His name is Paul. And obviously they couldn't use Willy Wonka's actual name, so he is playing a chocolatier named Willy McDuff. And aside from the script being off and the experience overall just sucking, Paul wasn't necessarily as happy about his role because it kind of made him the face of the event in a sense. Okay, so more details on the script. Buckle up. It is a wild ride. So Willy McDuff, again, this universe is Willy Wonka. He and the audience are on a journey, if you will, to stop the unknown, who's the villain in this universe. Apparently the unknown lives in the walls, and he's like an evil chocolate maker. And he is trying to steal the quote-unquote anti-graffiti gobstopper. I'm gonna assume that that's meant to say anti-gravity gobstopper. So basically the plot here is Willy McDuff has to vanquish the evil chocolatier out of the walls. And aside from this plotline being convoluted, some things that were making the script difficult are the fact that actual stage directions were scripted, audience interactions were scripted, and that's kind of hard to predict. And not only hard to predict, but even harder to execute, I would imagine. And in addition to saying all of this, he also said there was a little girl dressed as an Oompa Loompa that was just really upset because she'd expected Charlie in the Chocolate Factory and got a dirty warehouse in Glasgow. I hate this so much for the employees because I've had jobs like this in the past. I'm sure some of you guys have, where something goes wrong, not even necessarily an event, and you're like, I just work here. I am the most entry-level position that they've got on staff. I'm in control of nothing. Please do not take it out on me. But if that happened, it doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like it was reported on. And most of the employees, they just took the stance of, it's very clear this event sucks. We're getting paid. We have to be here. As frustrating and stressful as this is, let's at least just try to make the best of it for the kids who are here. And that was the mindset of Kirsty, who you've probably seen her image. She's like the sad Oompa Loompa. Honestly, that picture should have got more legs than it had. It's funny to me.
Hello everyone, it is the Scottish Oompa Loompa from the Glaswegian Willy Wonka Experience in the actual outfit of the event. But it's the first time it's been shown.
But being in that situation itself was not funny. As she herself said, she was hired to work in the science lab, so do science experiments and hand out jelly beans. I'm not sure if those things are linked, aside from, probably just being a decent person. Kirsty also teaches children's yoga, so she had experience with stuff like this being around kids, but said that even she got frustrated and walked off the set or whatever, where they were, because a parent snapped at her and called her a fraud over the event sucking. So as you can tell, this experience, it was not whimsical, it was not fun, it was not chocolate music, entertainment galore. I wonder if this ruined Willy Wonka for some of the kids, or they were thinking, oh, I'll finally get to go to the factory and it sucks. Or as a parent at this point, do you just tell them that it's not the real chocolate factory? Like, I don't know, like what they were telling their kids, like, oh, we're gonna see the Willy Wonka factory, or were they just telling them this is not real, but we're gonna go to something very inspired, very close to it for fun? So after this makes waves, makes the news, makes the international news, or hits social media, House of Illuminati, who I said at the beginning hosted and coordinated this event, they released a statement. And that statement reads, "Today has been a very stressful and frustrating day for many, and for that we are truly sorry. Unfortunately, last minute we were let down in many areas of our event and tried our best to continue on and push through, and now realize we probably should have canceled first thing this morning instead. We fully apologize for what has happened and will be giving full refunds to each and every person that purchased tickets." And Billy Cole, who is the director of the House of Illuminati, he claimed, and he's done interviews and things like that he was getting so much backlash that he just had to try his best to get rid of his internet presence, and people were just trying to ruin his life.
We guarantee a full refund starting from Monday.
No,
okay, if you do not receive refund,
I'm going to call the police.
If you don't receive refund,
because you are now into liquidation, you are no longer a company.
No,
is that why you don't have pictures up of your stuff?
No.
It's actual photo shuttle stuff you've got up.
No, we use artificial intelligence to generate.
So is it a fake?
No.
And of course, I'm not sure where things stand in this exact moment in time, because things like this happen and only gets followed for, a few weeks after. But even at that point, people still had not gotten their refunds, and Billy was telling those who hadn't to make sure that they were following up with their bank. And out of curiosity, I just Googled Billy Cole to see what else he's doing, what he's up to. Is his life ruined? And it looks like he released a bunch of books this year. My bad, these books came out last year. But anyway, he wrote 7 of them. And it seems like they're not entire novels, but are more so just short stories. And according to Rolling Stone, they said that he writes AI written, so I don't know if he's writing them allegedly, vaccine conspiracy books. And it could be a different Billy Cole, obviously, but this one is also based in Glasgow. And his Google Books profile actually reads, "Meet Billy Cole, the enigmatic wordsmith hailing from the bustling streets of Glasgow, Scotland. A rising star in the literary world, Billy weaves spellbinding tales that delve into the mysterious realms of fictional thrillers and gripping conspiracies." And I'm like, that sounds kind of Wonka-esque if you ask me. So yeah, all in all, Willy Wonka Experience in Glasgow, not fun. I was gonna say do not recommend. I believe it's defunct. I don't think they're gonna do it again. But I love the Oompa Loompa meme. And like I said, all the way around, events like this just tend to suck, because as a parent, the kid is mad at you. As someone who's working the event, the parent is mad at you, and so everyone is just frustrated and upset. But yeah, it sucks for the kids or anyone who just wanted to go and have fun, because as an adult, a Candy Wonka Wonderland, if it was done well and done correctly, that does actually sound like a very fun event to go to. All right, up next we have the Detroit Bridgerton Ball that took place in September of 2024. And at this event, you were invited to step into the enchanting world of the Regency era with sophistication, grace, and historical charm. And I'd seen coverage about this one already as well, and I thought a lot of it was entertaining, but particularly the headline of one of these BBC articles I found, and it reads, "Guests say they found soggy noodles, chicken bones, melancholy decor, a single violin, and a pole dancer." So I read that and I knew that I was in for a ride. And it seems like for this event, you could buy different ticket packages, and the most expensive package would come with the most things, or at least was intended to, because it seems like absolutely nobody got what they paid for. And so, for example, because of this, I saw one article saying that tickets were $200, which honestly to me would have been a steal if you got everything everything on the itinerary. Some were saying they were $400, and then a third article said they range from $150 at the least expensive package to $1,000 at the most expensive package. But I do believe the most expensive package, or one of the most expensive ones, was called the Duke and Duchess package. And it said that that one came with a valet service, dinner, music, you know, the whole nine. And again, so not entirely sure what was available to everyone, but the event was supposed to have food, music, entertainment. There were all supposed to be ballroom dancing lessons. There were going to be other people dressed up that you could take photos with, like, for example, Queen Charlotte. And there's also a costume contest, which, you know, Diamond of the Season, which is the thing if you watch Bridgerton, and that would just be the best dressed person instead of, like, you know, like the most popular debutante. And they were slated to win $2,000. And so the red flag started basically immediately when the events venue had been changed from somewhere to the Harmony Club. And I believe it was changed because they expected about 3,000 people to come in the prior event, and probably would have been like a fire safety hazard had they had that many people. And not only was the venue changed, the date was also changed. I'm not sure what day it fell on originally, but the new date was a Sunday night, so now people got to work in the morning. But the tickets are non-refundable, so if you choose not to go, you also lose your money. So I'm sure that's why a lot of people still went anyway. And I'm not sure how many days before the event that venue change and date change was made, but almost every article called it last minute. And something else, it wasn't just changed like a couple days, it was pushed back over a month. So it's supposed to take place August 25th, and then it took place actually on September 22nd. And the organizer of this event is a lady named Chelsea Beard, and she runs the company Uncle and Me LLC. And people are saying that even the day prior to the event, in September, the new date, Chelsea is seeing her, you know, receive calls from people, or people are receiving calls from Chelsea. And she's still trying to gather supplies, decor for this event that technically she should have been prepared for almost a month ago at this point.
When did you find out that not everyone had the best time?
I found that out once, like, it started getting close to the event, and we wasn't finished putting up the decorations. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
And things, as you can probably predict, don't get resolved by the time that people show up. So people who paid for that Duke and Duchess package that I mentioned included a valet service. They weren't getting valet service. They were having to park their own cars, walk up to the event on their own, and someone else, not sure if they were part of this package, but they said that no one was really checking security or checking for guest names upon entry, and we're just letting people in. So technically you could kind of just, you know, it doesn't really matter what package you paid for because everyone was getting treated the same way upon entry. But also that's a safety concern because someone who never purchased a ticket could have just shown up and done basically anything. I'm not even sure if they were checking bags, no idea. And so from the pictures and videos I looked at, again, it looks sparse, it looks bare, it does not look that entertaining. People are dressed up, they're glammed up because this is Bridgerton themed. And I'm just thinking, imagine spending all this money on a dress, maybe even making it, because a lot of people do, paying extra for someone to make something unique, getting all glammed up and just expecting a night of fun, of a romance, of fantasy, of getting to do a once-in-a-lifetime thing, because many of us have never been to a ball. And you get there and people are standing around. The decor is not done that well. Queen Charlotte, apparently, according to the attendees, it said that her costume looked like it came from Party City, ripped to Party City, and it's just not, the care is not taken. You feel like you're just in an event space. And this venue, the Harmony Club, this venue is big, and it's not like they were just doing the event in the grand hall, but from what I understand, there were other rooms and areas of the venue that you could go into, and people were saying it just wasn't enough to fill up or have something, some aspect, some spectacle in every single room. And apparently for a 3-floor venue, only one violinist was hired. I'm not saying one violinist, but a whole entire orchestra. One violinist, one instrumentalist playing for the whole entire venue.
There was no orchestra, live music, nothing really happening. There was a random stripper pole in the floor.
And so aside from the musical entertainment being sparse because of the one violinist, sorry to that violinist, I know they were doing their best. There was also, like I said, supposed to be ballroom dancing taking place, but instead of that, they had Tink the Fairy, who was an exotic dancer. Apparently she's capable of doing aerial loop performances, but they just had her do a pole dance. And I saw someone make the point that this Bridgerton event apparently was just 17 plus, so it's not necessarily appropriate. I don't know if it's illegal though, to have an exotic dancer there, and the event isn't 18 plus, 21 plus. It's just not necessarily appropriate. And then apparently at other points, and during some of the exotic dancing performance, they were just playing music from the radio or playlist, whatever. But they were playing songs like Maroon 5, Soulja Boy. I don't even mean the instrumental classical Bridgerton version. I mean the actual songs. And so because of this, people did not stay for the whole entire event. I think it was supposed to last 6 hours based on the itinerary, which would have been pretty in line with an actual Regency era ball. But since people got nothing of the sorts, they decided to dip. There was even a couple who had just gotten eloped, and I'm sure this event was part of their marriage celebrations. And apparently some of the people who went were people who love Bridgerton, obviously, but they had gone to other Bridgerton balls in other cities, and they were like, this is definitely the worst one that we've been to. Because again, these events aren't technically Bridgerton affiliated, they're just Bridgerton inspired. So almost anyone who wants to host one of these can host one. And like I said earlier, this one was hosted by Chelsea Beard and her company Uncle and Me LLC. And I also said that there was a strict no refund policy. And that was in place before the event was clearly shit. Apparently it stayed in place after the event was clearly shit, which I think is horrible. And she did interviews where she said that she was deeply sorry. Doesn't seem like sorry enough to just make sure these people get their refunds.
I can't speak on that at this time. And it is tied up in litigation at this moment.
But you are aware that a lot of people want answers about all these things.
Yes, I do. What we'll be doing is we'll be giving away the gifts they were supposed to receive at the ball, and this will give us a chance to actually talk to them in person. Our main goal is to repair our relationship with our customers.
So hopefully this is something that people were able to dispute with their banks and get handled that way. This is a side note, but when I was reading, people were saying because they were so damn bored, they were just sitting around in corners, standing around on their phones. And I was like, ooh, are phones allowed at an event like this? Because I would think to get the full-on Regency vibe experience, they would do a phone check or at least let you keep your phone, and you need to keep it zip tied on your person, in case of emergency. But I feel like having phones out and all of that would sort of ruin the ambiance. But I could also see them wanting people to have their phones out. That way they can take pictures and post about it and drum up interest in case said company wants to host another event in the future. Our next scam took place in North Bondi, Australia. It happened in October of this year, and it was the Crumble Cookie scam. Crumble Cookies are involved. Crumble Cookie, the company itself, is not involved. Personally, I do think this is the wildest one. And what happened in this one is people from North Bondi, which is a suburb of Sydney, which is in Australia, of course, they flew to the United States, not sure which Crumbl, but they flew to one of them in the United States, bought a bunch of Crumble Cookies and flew them back. And I didn't know this, but apparently there's no Crumble Cookies in Australia. Otherwise, there was no reason to do this to begin with, but you get what I'm saying. And my first thought, and a lot of others' first thought, was how do you get all of these cookies on the plane? How is this even possible? Because obviously you can bring food, you can bring outside food into the airport, pack it with you, all of that good stuff. But that quantity of cookies to be able to sell them, and then we're talking international, so you've also got to get all of those cookies through customs, I'm assuming, and other people also question that. And so the organizers of this event, they're not Crumbl. I don't even think they're an official company, but they created an Instagram and TikTok account with the handle Crumble Sydney. And they just posted, oh, Crumbl's landing in Australia X day. I think the day got switched. This day, this time, be here, get some Crumbl. We're here until we sell out. And there was a huge debate as to whether consumers would actually think that this is Crumbl operating a different branch based on the branding. And at first I was thinking yes when I saw some of the assets like the flyers and the posters, but looking at their Instagram, the profile picture that wouldn't necessarily trick me. And in their description, they say that they're not affiliated with Crumbl. So it's tricky because they are using similar branding, similar colors, and you would think in your mind as a consumer, why would a non-Crumbl company host, a Crumbl related event? But also I guess on the organizers, the non-Crumbl people's end, they covered their butts enough to make it clear that they're not Crumbl, but clearly they kind of wanted your mind to be in the ballpark of Crumbl because they're trying to sell you a Crumbl cookie. And so each of these Crumbl cookies was being sold for $17.50 Australian dollars, which would be about 11, 12 US dollars, which is still a 100% markup because these cookies cost between $4 and $5 unless you're getting one of the specialty items. So it's like, yeah, the scammers, the cookie people, they've got to make a profit, but these are still amusement park prices for old cookies. And at first I was like, wouldn't these cookies go stale pretty quickly? But then I was like, cookies can be relatively shelf stable. You can buy cookies and not eat them for a couple of days and they're still fine. It seems like from the point that the customers got these cookies, they were 4 to 6 days old, and different from a cookie that you'll probably buy at the grocery store. Obviously, the Crumble cookies are a little bit more decorative. Sometimes they have little specialty ingredients and flavors and things like that probably don't keep as well as like a regular sugar chocolate chip cookie. And based on their little advertisement or menu that they had in the line, they had flavors like the regular chocolate chip they have every week, caramel shortbread, pink sugar, I think that's a fave, Oreo crumble cookie cake, what the hell does that say? Birthday cake with Oreo, and then crumble cookie, something else, peanut butter Snickers. And those probably weren't even that current week's cookies, rather cookies from the previous week, because they took 4 to 6 days to actually land and be ready to sell. And while they were selling, and so apparently customers waited in line for an hour to get the cookies, I'm gonna assume that they sold out. And it was in fact the case. The consumers who ate the cookies and posted about it talked about how they felt. They did think that they were stale. The flavor was bad. I saw an influencer rate them 0 out of 10 for freshness.
It's like freaking it's like something I can make that rate this stubborn 6. Already a 9. It was fresh. So these are breaking apart. In terms of freshness, 0 out of 5. Just this. Twix. It's a 3 out of 10. Out of 1 out of 10. She sucks. Okay, anyways, we're all rating. I'd give mine at 8 out of 10. Was it worth waiting in line for 45 minutes? Maybe yes, because there's no Crumbl here, but no, because people were fighting and the cookies are $17.
And I was watching videos and the cookies just crumbled, no pun intended. And not like a good warm fresh cookie crumble, but like kind of how like an old rock or something, like a giant piece of dirt crumbles. So obviously not good, not delish, not enjoyable. I'm not sure how people found out that they were being scammed. I'm not sure if this was made known even before the pop-up happened and some people decided to go anyway, or just hadn't heard yet that this wasn't officially Crumbl affiliated. Because like I said, from the branding on their social media pages, you could probably infer that, but who knows how many people who actually lined up or saw a poster in person for the Crumbl pop-up even knew that they had a social media presence. A very, very weird situation. But as a result, the Crumble Sydney Instagram accounts, TikTok accounts, they got banned. And it seems like it has been deleted because there was a live link and I clicked on it and it said it doesn't exist anymore, something like that. But the Crumble Sydney people, they did release a Google Doc, not necessarily apologizing, but saying it wasn't their intention to scam people. They didn't like do anything crazy with the money, and they gave an actual price breakdown, and this is how we spent the money, this is what it cost to buy these cookies, to fly them. And they showed their order for 2,000 cookies, and I was like, I hope they tipped in person, because ordering 2,000 cookies from a restaurant, perhaps it was multiple, but like that's nuts. And they also said, we never claimed to be an official Crumbl store. This was clearly stated in our bio and our comments. Our goal was to bring the authentic Crumbl cookies to Australia by importing the cookies directly from the USA. And it's like, yeah, the cookie is from Crumbl, but is the authentic Crumbl experience really getting a 6-day-old cookie? I would think not. Like, I know sometimes they'll sell some of their previous week's cookies to customers who want them, but it's obvious that those were leftover cookies from the previous week. And again, like I said, this is kind of weird because I do agree that they were definitely saying that they weren't Crumbl, that they're not an actual Crumbl store. I'm not arguing against that. But again, I don't think it's completely fair to say, we just wanted to do everyone a favor and bring Crumbl to them, so you can't get mad at us for selling a company's product and you thought that we were that company. That's on you. Because again, it's not like they were saying, we're bringing Crumbl to you. We're just a group of people. Instead of using soft pink Crumbl branding, we'll do electric purple. That way there's absolutely no confusion. And I would also think, and I would think a lot of other people would think, if something like this is being branded, you would just assume that even if it's not the exact same Crumbl branding and it's not taking place in a Crumbl location, I think they just took over a regular store, bakery, something like that, you would think it's a collaboration between Crumbl and that brand. Because like, for example, on the side of the country I live, we do not have In-N-Out Burger. So if I saw, oh, In-N-Out pop-up is coming to this place, I wouldn't think someone just flew to California, bought a bunch of burgers and animal style fries, and then flew them back over. I would think that that was something coordinated between the hosting company and In-N-Out, and maybe they flew over like frozen ingredients or something of that nature, and then they were freshly prepared at the hosting restaurant. I could see people thinking that, but that's definitely not what happened in this case. So surprisingly, or maybe unsurprisingly, I was kind of shocked by this. Crumbl decided they were not going to take any legal action against the Crumble Sydney people. And you know, maybe I could see them not taking actual legal action, but at least threatening legal action, like at least sending them like a little cease and desist, but they did not do any of those things. And they said, while the pop-up in Australia was not sponsored by Crumbl, we love seeing excitement for Crumbl around the world. Crumbl has been inspired to accelerate plans to provide all dessert-loving Aussies with a true Crumbl experience. So they basically took the stance of, well, thank you very much for doing test research for free. Well, not free for you, but free for us. So now that we know that there is a demand for Crumbl, and now that everyone knows that that's not really what Crumbl does, that those weren't really fresh cookies, our brand reputation isn't taking that much of a hit, and we also got some new information. So thank you. So this is the one where I was like, some people say it's a scam, other people say it's not a scam. There were even articles like, lawyer speaks about the Crumble Cookie event, is it a scam? Because technically the law wasn't broken, and in my opinion, I'm like, does the law have to be broken for it to be a scam? And I know that that sounds silly, but like I said, I think that this is a scam. Like, even if you weren't marketing yourself as Crumbl and you were just, you know, letting me connect the dots, letting me come to my wrong conclusion that you guided me to, you didn't put on there that the cookies were going to be 4 to 6 days old. Hopefully they were in like cooler packs or something, not just in the damn pink boxes, and then bring them over. So to me, this is something that is a scam at worst and is deceptive at best. And it's probably a very good thing that no one got sick or anything worse happened than people just being upset that they were scammed, in my opinion, and we're out $17 over a damn cookie. So yeah, for sure, let me know what y'all think on this one. Do you think it's a scam, or do you just think it was a shitty move but not necessarily a scam? All right, and last but not least, we have the Taylor Swift convention during the Eras Tour weekend in November 2024 taking place in New Orleans. So I guess technically this happened in late October, but was reported on in early November because it coincided with that same weekend that Taylor Swift was in town in New Orleans for the Eras Tour, which was the 25th to the 27th. And so because this weekend was happening in New Orleans, and I guess people didn't want their kids to get swept up in the NOLA partying, the drinking and all of that, or find their way into it if they were unaccompanied minors, this event, a convention thing, was hosted as like a fun, family-friendly weekend of Taylor Swift-related activities. So there were things like scavenger hunts, pool parties, brunches, a friendship bracelet making activity, because giving out friendship bracelets is a thing that people do at the Eras Tour. So little activities like that to either get you hyped up for your Eras Tour. I guess if you went on the first night, you could continue going that weekend and just get other people excited, or, you know, just kind of stay in the Eras mindset. And so all of this is being put together by a lady named Rebecca Fox. And the most wild part to me is that not only is she hosting this little unofficial convention at a hotel.
This is what Fox told our cameras in September.
Friendship bracelet making parties. There's just so many activities and events for the whole family and Swifties of all ages, and we're so excited about it.
She's able to block off 191 rooms, saying that she's hosting an event, this Taylor Swift convention, kind of how people do for weddings, things like that. And this is not something I've ever had a reason to do, but I assume blocking off a hotel was not that simple, or like you'd have to do a down payment or something. Like, I didn't think it was as simple as making a phone call. And a lot of other people obviously had the same question, because it's a good question. And according to Rebecca, she was told yes, because the hotel staff knew what Taylor could do economically, or how much money she brings to whole entire cities, honestly, when she's in town for the Eras Tour. So my assumption as to what happened was she called them up, said, hey, we're doing a Taylor Swift convention. Can we block off X amount of rooms for our guests? And the person on the other end of the phone probably thought that this was someone affiliated with Taylor Swift and wouldn't think a random person would be asking to block off 200 hotel rooms for a Taylor Swift convention. And there was a little confusion, and they said yes to her that way. Maybe that's not what happened, but to me, that's the most logical thing. And apparently, on top of whatever deposits, fees that people needed to just book the room through the hotel directly, if you let Rebecca know that you were signing up to be part of this convention, she was also charging $25 deposit on top of that, allegedly, which she was saying wasn't like an extra deposit, but rather was funds or dues for her to be able to afford things to host this convention. So if you stay at the hotel, which is the Holiday Inn, by the way, that Rebecca blocked off, and you want to do an all-access pass, that would be $550. But if you stay at a different hotel, it would be $750 for this pass. But you can opt up for the VIP Miss Americana package, which has some undisclosed form of VIP treatment, but you also get a Miss Americana tiara and sash and more. Not quite sure what more is. And that'll be $1,000 if you stay at the Holiday House Hotel block Rebecca booked off. Otherwise, it is $1,250. As you can imagine, this wasn't well organized. A lot of people had no idea what was going on. Some people who stayed at other hotels and then showed up to said hotel for this event, when they were asking people like, oh, hey, we're here for the Taylor Swift thing. Do you know what room this thing is happening in? They'd be like, what? I have no idea. Which again speaks to the fact that this was not an official convention, because then the staff would they would know.
We never actually got to agree on any sorts of payment terms, though I did send an invoice asking for a 50% deposit, which was never paid or responded to.
Now attendees are demanding answers from Fox.
It is just really shocking that it's come to this point and that there is no accountability being taken.
Some of the DJs hired for the event pulled out. One DJ who was hired and actually showed up said that she was very stressed, just trying to get her job done, trying to make sure everybody has some music to listen to. And then other guests who attended said that a lot of vendors weren't there. There weren't as many as promised. And I would think you would be excited to go to one of these places because you would get a lot of really cool, unique, Taylor-themed merch. And apparently the brunch was between $150 and $175. And to me, it just looks like the Continental Breakfast Bar, which is what someone said in the Reddit forum I was reading, but I'm not entirely sure. But that's what it looks like to me. Looking at the table, it looks like there's a little bit of a reputation piece of table decor. I don't know why I said that. And then also a Taylor coloring page, which was probably part of another event. And it seems like based on a lot of the Reddit forums I read in a Facebook group that I found, people have very differing opinions on Rebecca Fox, again, the lady who organized this event. It seems like some people who knew her said that they didn't necessarily consider her to be evil, but she definitely did bite off more than she could chew with this event. And other people were saying that they didn't necessarily think she was evil, but she was definitely doing all of this hoping that it would become viral and catch Taylor's attention. Or maybe even be one of those things that props her up in the Swiftie fandom. You know how in a lot of fandoms there's celebrity fans, they're one of the main fans even though you're all fans, one of those things. Something else I think is wild is that people, they were kind of confused because they thought that they had signed up for a Taylor Swift convention. So I think some of them thought that they kind of had to go through Rebecca for everything related to their Eras Tour weekend when that wasn't the case. So some of them were like, oh, things came up. I'm not going to be able to make it this weekend. I'm not going to be able to make it to the concert either. So apparently, allegedly, Rebecca was trying to get those people to sell them her tickets. And I don't think it was a case of, oh, since you're not going, I have a friend who needs an extra ticket. Can we buy this from you? I think allegedly it was a case of, yes, in order to actually get them canceled, you do have to go through me or you have to give these tickets back to me. Which, of course, obviously didn't fly. And then I also saw that because I didn't fly, Rebecca allegedly was charging people a $100 cancellation fee if they canceled that weekend. Not sure if it was for the hotel itself or just for any of the events. But people were saying regardless of what she was doing, she was able to find a way to go to all 3 nights of that Eras Tour weekend show in New Orleans. And some people, especially on TikTok, had the theory that Rebecca wasn't just trying to get all of these tickets from people who canceled just so that she could have them for herself or, her friends, but so that she could give them to the people that she hired to work the DJ booth, to do the karaoke event, the friendship bracelet events, instead of actually paying them. They could just get a ticket to the Eras Tour. And apparently some people were saying that when they tried to go through Rebecca to cancel because they thought that they had to, she was kind of rude to them and kind of disrespectful to them. And then also going off of hoping, organizing an event of this scale would kind of make her a celebrity in the Swiftie fandom, which please, any watching Swifties, fill in any blanks that I'm missing or any gaps. I believe during Taylor's red set of the Eras Tour, she's wearing a 22 hat, or not a 22 hat, she's wearing a hat while she's performing 22, and she'll bring a kid up on stage or to the front of the stage and give them the hat at the end of the performance. And based on some of those screenshots that I've seen, Rebecca, who looks to me like she's in her early 20s, around about there, is saying, no, everyone's kid is cute. I'm sorry, but not everyone's kid organized a convention to this scale. So if anyone should get this hat, should get recognized by Taylor Swift, honestly, it should be me. Yeah, obviously I'm no stranger to an F-bomb. I just don't know how many I can read before I get demonetized or something like that, or age restricted. So the message is on the screen, but the gist of it is her saying other people should not be asking about getting the 22 hat, especially in any sort of conversation regarding her. And honestly, she deserves it above anyone else, child or adult, because of all of this work that she has put into this convention, coordinating and all of that. And according to what people were saying online, at least, apparently there was also going to be a child in attendance who had survived cancer, and people were saying it was likely that that child was going to get the hat. I couldn't find who specifically got the hats, which is fine because they're probably kids, but on night 1, which was October 25th, they just said a young fan, a young little girl got the hat, so I'm going to assume that that's not Rebecca, and it doesn't really say for the other 2 nights, so I'm going to assume Miss Rebecca did not get a hat for all of her efforts. So this happened relatively recent-ish, so I'm not entirely sure what exactly is happening in all of this currently, and like I said, often they don't follow up for the whole entire year, so you're not sure if everyone got their refund back. But as of November 1st, Rebecca was like, yes, y'all, I failed. I know that I failed. And she said that she's working on giving people partial refunds right now, but she can't speak about everything because her attorney is currently out of the country. And maybe it's a prolonged trip. I don't know if he's back yet, but like I said, he could be back working on this with Rebecca, and they just never followed up. And I think one of the funniest things in all of this is that I found Reddit threads and posts and forums from people saying, oh, like, this is definitely not going to work, like, here before the mess happened. So it kind of seems like some Swifties were like, this is not going to end well. Some people are definitely going to want their money back by the time this is all said and done. And it seems like they were correct. And there also is a Facebook group for people who actually were part of this convention. I don't know if they had to be one of the people who booked the hotel rooms, but it's called like the Eras Tour New Orleans Unholiday House. I'm honestly surprised this doesn't happen more, or maybe it does, I just haven't heard about it, where someone's like, I'm just gonna do an unofficial convention for this artist, because obviously you can look at their tour dates well in advance, basically as soon as tickets go on sale, and try to make something shake, which is basically what Rebecca did, but it didn't pan out. So yes, those are the most diabolical scam events of 2024, at least out of the ones that I'm aware that exist. If there are others, I would be eager to hear about them in the comments below. Of course, most of these got likened to Fyre Fest in some form. Honestly, the Willy Wonka one reminded me so much of DashCon. But yeah, these scam events are not necessarily anything new. And I think one thing all four of them have in common is them definitely trying to capitalize on some sort of viral craze, trend that is popular in 2024 or 2023 leading over into 2024, which again isn't necessarily new because, you know, you want to build an event theme around the hot new thing, that way people want to go. But of course, it's probably also the added element of making it repostable, making it go viral. That way you can start hosting these events and attracting more people and obviously making more money. But I feel like this is one of those things that even if you go into it with the best intentions possible and you don't intend to scam people, I think a lot of people don't understand how hard event planning can genuinely be, especially on a larger scale, because even if you have all of your P's and Q's together, something can go wrong and something always will go wrong. And so you can't just have a plan A and expect for plan A to work. You gotta have plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But as always, eager to hear your thoughts, eager to hear your opinions on any of these scam events, especially if you've attended any of them. I would definitely be eager to hear your experience. Also, if you've just attended a scam event in general that wasn't in 2024. Personally, I've attended events that suck, but I don't think I've attended any that are outright scams, especially not to this scale. But I'd love to hear a little horror story if you've got one. As always, thank you so very much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so that you can stick around for more. Also, if you'd like to become a channel member and get early access to videos, the link is in the description. And again, thank you so very much for watching. I love you all so very much, and we'll see you so very soon. Bye-bye.